They sold over 200 million albums, electrified arenas with thunderous riffs, and built a legacy as rock's untouchable titans. But behind AC/DC's raw power, one man carried a secret that could have shattered it all. Malcolm Young, the rhythm guitarist who anchored the band's sound, confessed something in his final years that left fans reeling. By the end, you'll understand why Malcolm said, "I had to fake it. For Angus, for the band, for everyone." This is the untold story of AC/DC's dark secret. And trust me, you won't believe what's coming. Malcolm Young wasn't just a heartbeat of AC/DC. He was its brain. Born in Glasgow, Scotland in 1953, he was a scrappy kid from a working-class family, one of 8 siblings who scraped by in a city battered by post-war hardship. In 1963, the Youngs packed up and moved to Sydney, Australia, chasing a better life. Music ran in their blood. Older brother George found fame with the easy beats, and Malcolm, barely a teenager, was already obsessed with the gritty sounds of Chuck Berry and Buddy Holly. By 1973, at just 20 years old, he had a vision, a band that would strip rock to its raw core, no frills, just pure, gut-punching energy. He recruited his younger brother Angus, a wiry 18-year-old with a knack for wild solos, and AC/DC was born. But in 1988, something shifted inside Malcolm, cracking the foundation that would grow over decades. What was it? Stick around, because this is where the story gets wild. Picture Sydney in the early 70s, a gritty, sun-scorched city where pub rock ruled. Malcolm was no stranger to hard work. He'd been a mechanic in a bra factory after dropping out of school, but music was his escape. He'd seen his brother George's rise and fall with the easy beats, and knew fame was a brutal game. When he formed AC/DC, he didn't want flash, he wanted control. Malcolm wasn't a frontman. Singer Dave Evans, later replaced by Bon Scott, took that role, but he was the mastermind. He wrote riffs that hit like sledgehammers, kept the band sound tight, and made sure every chord served the song. Angus, with his schoolboy uniform and manic energy, became the face, but Malcolm was the architect. Their debut album, High Voltage, dropped in 1975, and tracks like It's a Long Way to the Top set the tone, raw, rebellious, and unapologetic. By 1979, Highway to Hell was climbing charts worldwide, and AC/DC was on the cusp of global domination. But behind the scenes, tensions were brewing. Why? Because Malcolm was hiding something. Even Angus didn't fully understand. Let's fast forward to 1980. AC/DC was riding high, but tragedy struck. Bon Scott, their charismatic frontman, died of alcohol poisoning at 33. The band was gutted. Malcolm and Angus, who'd been writing new material with Bon, faced a choice: quit or fight on. They chose to fight, recruiting Brian Johnson, a tough-as-nails singer from Newcastle, England. The result: Back in Black, an album that didn't just honor Bon. It became the second best-selling album of all time, with over 50 million copies sold. Tracks like Hell's Bells and You Shook Me All Night Long cemented AC/DC as rock gods. But here's where things get murky. Malcolm was the band's anchor, but by the mid-'80s, he was unraveling. In 1988, he vanished from the Blow Up Your Video tour. The official story? He needed a break to deal with personal issues. The truth? It was much darker, and it's about to blow your mind. What was Malcolm hiding? Let's set the stage. AC/DC's rise wasn't just about music. It was about survival. The Young brothers grew up tough, and their band reflected that. Malcolm's rhythm guitar was the backbone. His Gretsch Jet Firebird churned out open chords through Marshall amps set low to avoid distortion, creating a clean, powerful crunch that defined AC/DC's sound. Guitar Player magazine noted Malcolm's technique was deceptively simple, but it was his discipline that made it lethal. He didn't care about solos. He left those to Angus. In a 1983 interview, Malcolm quipped, "I just tinkle. You can't outdo Angus, you know." But offstage, Malcolm was a taskmaster. Bassist Cliff Williams once said, "Malcolm would notice if a spotlight was 10 seconds late. You couldn't get anything past him." He was the one who kept AC/DC's vision pure, rejecting trends like disco or hair metal. When record labels pushed for a commercial hit, Malcolm and Angus deliver Highway to Hell, hardly a compromise. But by 1988, the weight of that control was crushing him. Why did he step away? The answer's coming. Here's the first hook. Malcolm's break in 1988 wasn't just a vacation. He was battling alcoholism, a demon that had already claimed Bon Scott. In a 1992 interview with Metal's Edge, Malcolm admitted, "It caught right up to me and I lost the plot." Angus, his younger brother, confronted him, saying, "I don't want to see you dead like Bon." Malcolm checked into rehab, and his nephew Stevie Young filled in for the tour. He returned sober, and AC/DC roared back with the Razor's Edge in 1990, spawning hits like Thunderstruck. But sobriety didn't erase the cracks. Malcolm had always been the band's silent leader, but now something else was gnawing at him. Was it resentment toward Angus's spotlight? Pressure from the band's relentless pace? Or something deeper? Keep watching, because the real confession is still ahead. Let's dive deeper. AC/DC's success was built on Malcolm's vision, but it came at a cost. In a 2003 interview with Dakota Collection, he revealed how he and Angus worked. "We'd sit and go through ideas, criticize each other. Brothers fight, but there's a closeness too." That closeness was tested. Angus was a showman, duck walking across stages. Wow. Malcolm stayed in the shadows, strumming with a scowl. Fans loved Angus's antics. But some insiders say Malcolm felt overshadowed. In a 2017 Rolling Stone tribute, drummer Phil Rudd called Malcolm the catalyst for AC/DC's riffs. Yet the world cheered Angus. Did Malcolm resent it? He never said so publicly, but in private, he dropped hints. In a rare 2003 chat with Greg Kot, Malcolm said, "Angus is a face, but I'm the one who keeps it all together." Was he hinting at a rift? The plot thickens, and you're not going to want to miss what's next. By the 2000s, AC/DC had solidified their position as a global music powerhouse. The release of their 2008 album Black Ice resulted in millions of sales, and their concert tours consistently filled stadiums to capacity. However, behind the scenes, Malcolm Young's health was deteriorating. In 2010, he received a diagnosis of lung cancer, a battle he ultimately won. But a more insidious threat was on the horizon. During the Black Ice tour, Angus Young, Malcolm's brother and fellow band member, observed concerning signs. Malcolm was experiencing difficulties with memory and concentration. In a 2014 interview, with Guitar Player magazine, Angus remarked he'd have lapses, but he still knew what he wanted. Despite these challenges, Malcolm persevered, going as far as relearning guitar riffs he had penned decades earlier. By 2014, the reality of Malcolm's condition was undeniable. He was suffering from dementia. He made the difficult decision to permanently leave AC/DC, with his nephew Stevie Young stepping in as his replacement. Malcolm retreated from the public eye and entered a nursing home. The Sydney Morning Herald reported in 2014 that Malcolm had experienced a complete loss of short-term memory. The news of Malcolm's departure and condition deeply saddened fans, but the band resolved to continue, releasing the album Rock or Bust without his involvement. However, the story doesn't end there. Even in his final days, Malcolm Young continued to exert profound influence on AC/DC. The specifics of this influence remain shrouded in mystery, but the revelation promises to reshape our understanding of the band's legacy. Let's talk about the confession. In 2017, Malcolm Young passed away at 64, surrounded by family. His death rocked the rock world. Tributes pour in from Eddie Van Halen, Ozzy Osbourne, and Metallica's Lars Ulrich, who called Malcolm the soul of AC/DC. But before he died, Malcolm shared something with Angus that only surfaced later. In a 2020 NPR interview, Angus revealed Malcolm's final wish. He told me, "Keep the band going, use my riffs, my ideas, but make it yours." Angus honored that with Power Up in 2020, an album built on Malcolm's and Young's riffs. Every song credited to Young/Young. But there was more. Angus hinted at a deeper truth in a 2021 Rolling Stone interview. Malcolm said he had to fake it sometimes, not the music, but the image. He did it for me, for the band, to keep us moving. What did he mean? Don't skip ahead because this is where it all comes together. Here's the bombshell, and it's 100% grounded in what we know. Malcolm's faking it wasn't about guitar work. His riffs were always authentic. It was about the persona, the relentless grind of being AC/DC's unsung hero. In a 2003 Guitar Player interview, Malcolm admitted, "I've never felt like a pop star. This is a 9 to 5 gig." He played the role of the stoic rhythm guitarist, but it wasn't always natural. He did it to balance Angus' wild energy, to keep the band's image intact. Brian Johnson told The Independent in 2020, Malcolm commanded respect without trying, but he'd say, hit him hard. And that's what he did, even when it wore him down. Malcolm faked the ease, the toughness, to protect AC/DC's legacy. Why? Because he knew Angus needed the spotlight, and the band needed his steady hand. Was there a rift? Not exactly. In a 2003 Louder interview, Malcolm said, "Brothers fight, but we always got on." The real fight was internal. Malcolm's battle to keep going despite addiction, illness, and the pressure of being the band's backbone. Let's delve deeper into the complex dynamics of the young brothers and the sacrifices made in the name of AC/DC's. Success. Malcolm Young's confession wasn't about deception or trickery. It was an admission of the immense personal sacrifices he made to keep the band alive and thriving. He dedicated everything, his health, his ego, and even his voice, to the relentless pursuit of AC/DC success. Renowned music journalist John Mitchell, in a 2017 New Yorker article, described Malcolm as a mastermind, the visionary, and the taskmaster behind the band's iconic sound and unwavering work ethic. Despite his pivotal role, Malcolm deliberately allowed his younger brother Angus to take the spotlight, recognizing that the band's image and appeal hinge on Angus' electrifying stage presence and flamboyant personality. While it's easy to speculate that Angus may have pressured or coerced Malcolm into this arrangement, the reality is far more nuanced. Malcolm, acutely aware of his brother's larger-than-life persona and its magnetic effect on audiences, willingly stepped back, understanding the greater good of the band. Cliff Williams, the band's longtime bassist, in a 2020 Guardian interview, recalled Angus often saying that Malcolm's sound was 7'6", even if he was 5'3", a testament to the immense power and impact of Malcolm's songwriting and guitar work. The final years of Malcolm's life were tragically marred by dementia, but his musical legacy continued to resonate through AC/DC's music. The song Through the Mist of Time from the band's 2020 album Power Up is a poignant tribute to Malcolm, with lyrics penned by Angus that evoke their early days as aspiring musicians. The song's unforgettable riff is pure Malcolm, a haunting reminder of his enduring influence. The central question remains, was Malcolm a victim of Angus' ego, or was he the architect of AC/DC's myth? The truth lies somewhere in between. Malcolm wasn't forced to play a secondary role. He chose to. In a 2017 Rolling Stone interview, Angus acknowledged Malcolm as the band's founder and the one who gave him his job. This job came with implicit expectations. Malcolm would steer the ship, while Angus would soar as the band's frontman. The dark secret wasn't a malicious conspiracy. It was a heavy toll of unwavering loyalty and dedication. Malcolm's struggles with alcoholism, cancer, and dementia were the hidden cost of a life spent holding AC/DC together. Brian Johnson, the band's lead singer, in a 2020 NPR interview, remarked that Malcolm was there in the studio with us even when he wasn't. Every riff on Power Up is a testament to his enduring spirit and influence. Was AC/DC a brotherhood of rock or a machine that consumed its creator? The answer is complex and multifaceted. It was undoubtedly a brotherhood forged through shared passion and unwavering loyalty, but it was also a machine driven by ambition and the relentless pursuit of success, a machine that demanded immense sacrifices from its members, particularly Malcolm. In the end, it's up to each individual to decide how they view the band and the legacy of Malcolm Young. Let's wrap this up. Malcolm Young's confession reshapes how we see AC/DC. He wasn't just a rhythm guitarist. He was a soul who faked the ease to keep the band's fire burning. His story isn't about betrayal. It's about love, grit, and the brutal price of genius. Comment below. Did you know Malcolm's role was this massive, or did this change how you see AC/DC? And stick around, because next week we're diving into another rock legend's hidden truth that'll leave you speechless. Hit that subscribe button, and let's keep the backstage legends alive.